All right, welcome back to the Red and Blue Fight Pick Show. I'm your host, Blue Bart, accompanied by my co-host, Red Ray. We are here to break down and give our picks for UFC 318, Poirier versus Holloway 3. You may have missed us last week. We had some technical difficulties as I left my microphone on the ground as I was doing a solo show. So I was unable to post the show because the audio was so bad. We've had a little bit of technical difficulties so far tonight. And for the sake of time, we're not going to recap the card from last week, but we were up 0.12 units on the week. I hope you guys saw our picks on x.com/R&B fight picks. We are always giving the fight picks out on there if you aren't able to make the show. But overall, we were up over 5 units on UFC 317, which brought us back into the positive. We have turned the ship around as we promised. So on the year, we are officially up 1.23 units overall and feeling good about the picks this week. Let's jump right into it. UFC 318, Poirier versus Holloway 3, and we start in the women's flyweight division as we have Carly Judice at minus 340 taking on Nicole Caliari at plus 270. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Yeah, we've seen Carly a couple times now. High volume striker. She's her Dana White Contender Series fight and her fight against Gabby Fernandez. Both times landed over 160 strikes. She's a good boxer. She's 1-2 her last fight. She got that nice KO victory. I thought she arguably won both her first 2 fights. Also, the Ernesta fight was pretty back and forth. The Gabby fight, I thought she clearly won 2 out of the 3 rounds, but lost both by split decision. Going on, Nicole on the other side here. She won her Dana White Contender Series fight by submission. Last fight, she fought Ernesta, the same girl that Carly fought on the Contender Series, and lost. Nicole also lost. She was 3 of 14 on the takedowns, wasn't able to get the fight to the ground. And Nicole's just not a very good striker. Her whole game plan is to get the fight to the ground. She's a good jiu-jitsu player, but she's going to be the far significantly smaller, the far smaller girl here. And I just don't think Judice is going to be able to, or I don't think she's going to get Judice down on a regular basis. And I think Judice is going to piece her up on the feet. I don't know if she's going to, if Judice is going to get the finish here. Nicole's never been finished. She might have been finished by sub once, never get knocked out. So I'm going to take Judice here by decision.
Yeah, I like Judice a lot as well. I think she's a very good prospect. I think she's been getting better each and every fight so far in her 3 of 3 fight stint with the UFC. I feel like she should be 3-0, even though her record shows 1-2 so far in the UFC. Caliari, I thought she lost that last fight 29-28 pretty clearly. It was a split decision. Her debut fight on Dana White Contender Series, she fought a very low level 8-5 36-year-old who was piecing her up on the feet before she was able to take her down and submit her. I think Judice is going to be too athletic to get taken down. She's bigger, longer, younger. I think she's going to smoke her on the feet. I think she could knock her out, but Caliari has been very durable so far in her career. So I like Judice by decision as well at minus 115. We are going to move right into the middleweight division as we have Bruno Ferreira at minus 550 taking on Jackson McVey at plus 410. I'm on the Ferreira side here. I think he's a legitimate top 25, top 20 middleweight in the UFC. He's 5-2 so far in the UFC. He's fought good competition in every one of his fights. Jackson McVey, long term, I think he's a solid prospect for the UFC middleweight division. I did like his opening matchup against Dumas. I liked his matchup against Ewert when that fight ended up getting canceled the day before as well, as Ewert could not make weight. I think this is too much of a step up for a young prospect like McVey. It's going to be an interesting matchup as he is 6'4". Ferreira is only 5'10". But I think this is going to be a situation where we see a younger, I'm sorry, not younger, a smaller heftier guy knock out a bigger, longer tree like McVey. And this is the Hulk versus a moose. Um, I think the Hulk beats a moose pretty easily. I feel like a Hulk against a moose would be like minus 1 million. And for that reason, I'm going Ferreira by knockout at minus 150. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Um, I'm not as confident in Ferreira as you are. Um, so far in the UFC, he's been pretty off and on. We saw him. He gets he has been getting beaten up a decent amount in most of his fights before he gets the win. He was getting pieced up by Arman last fight before he got the armbar. We saw him lost the fight before by arm triangle to Abus. The Stoltzfus fight, he was getting manhandled for a little bit in the first round before finishing with a spinning elbow. He got knocked out by Nurselton in the first round. So I don't think he's a middleweight. I think he's only 5'10". He's very small for the division. McVey's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage. He's going to have a 6-inch height advantage. Obviously, we have no idea what McVey is against higher competition. All of his opponents have been cans on the regional scene, but so far he's dominated all of them. So um, I don't obviously think that like we talked about, Ferrer got knocked out by Ruzaboyev. That was the only tall guy that he's faced so far and had a lot of issues. I mean, Abus is kind of tall, but he's more of a stockier build than Nurselton and McVey. But he obviously had troubles with that length. So if McVey is able to use his length, I think he can uh, spread this fight out a little bit longer. Um, Ferrer doesn't have a good gas tank. We obviously have no idea what McVey's gas tank is, and just putting minus 550 on Bruno Ferreira against a guy who you have no idea how good he is seems crazy to me. So I'm going to be on the McVey side. I think he could probably get a late finish here. If not, maybe just make this out volume, get it to decision. Ferreira's not a big volume guy, and we know that he slows down going late in the fight. So I'm on McVey. Not a whole ton of confidence, but it's mostly based on the odds here.
Okay, we move to the heavyweight division as we have Ryan Spann in his second heavyweight fight at minus 235, taking on Lucas Brzeski at plus 210, 260. No, I'm sorry, plus 195. My apologies. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Neither of these guys are very good. Ryan Spann obviously was hoping that he could go up to heavyweight after struggling at light heavyweight. He seemed like he just took it as a excuse to not train, as he came in looking pretty like he just added fat basically. His last fight he was 249, so he came in about 40 pounds over his weight that he was fighting at before, and it didn't look like any of it was muscle. So that wasn't great. And then he looked like he didn't really get anything done against Waldo. I mean, Waldo's it's a tough opponent in his first heavyweight match. I think Waldo obviously he might have, as he I'm sure for sure Waldo's faced Brzeski before, but I think Waldo probably cleans Brzeski out pretty good
Yeah, he,
easily.
he knocked out
He knocked him
Brzeski.
out. I thought that's right. Yeah, just one knockout. Um, so it, both these guys have been knocked out by Waldo. I think Spann, if you're just going by skill wise, he's the better fighter. He's the better striker. I don't know. Neither of these guys have a ground game. I don't know what Brzeski's like, what his goal is when he gets into the cage, like how he's trying to win fights. He's lost 5 of 6. His only win was against Walter Walker, and basically that Walter Walker basically lost that fight by being out of shape and had no cardio. Brzeski wasn't really doing anything. He was also gassed and unable to do anything. So I think Spann probably starches him here in the first round. I'm hoping if he trained for 10 minutes for this fight, then I'm sure that he can land some kind of strike and knock out Brzeski. Even if Spann tires like he always does in the second round, Brzeski's also probably going to be tired, and he has no power at all. So it's not even like he will be able to take advantage of Spann's gas tank there. So um, I wouldn't even be surprised if this goes into the late rounds where they just get sloppy and are just like holding each other against the cage and throwing wild heavyweight sloppiness. So, but I think Spann wins this one in the first round, but minus 238 on Spann, whom you have no idea if he trains or not for every fight, is unacceptable. So
Yeah, this is a pretty easy fight for me to break down. Spann 9-7 in the UFC historically has terrible cardio. When he won a couple fights in a row at light heavyweight, he said he was finally training. He clearly gave that up as he does not want to keep himself in shape. He just wants to be lazy and uh, fight low level heavyweights. Brzeski should be 0-6 in the UFC. He really shouldn't be in the UFC at this point. He's 1-5. His only win was a split decision that I thought he pretty clearly lost to Walter Walker. Um, Here's what's going to happen. Spann is going to try to knock him out in the first round. If Brzeski survives the first round, I like his live odds because Spann death gasses. I think Brzeski has a little bit more control in his cardio and could wins round 2 and 3. So I like Spann by first round knockout at plus 225, or I like Brzeski at decision plus 1200. Could Brzeski just knock out Spann because he's completely exhausted in the later rounds? I think that's live as well. So if you just want to bet Brzeski live after round one, I really think the fight is going to sway in his favor because we have just seen Spann death gas so many times, including in his last fight. Even at heavyweight, it's still an issue. Moving up the card, we're going to go to the light heavyweight division as we have Jimmy Crute at minus 325 with the comeback on Marcin Prachnio at plus 260. I like Crute a lot in this fight. He's in his fighting prime, 29 years old. He went to a draw in his last fight, but he had a great first round. He 10-8'd him, then he kind of slowed down and dropped the last two rounds. Has had a couple competitive fights with Menafield. He took a lot of time off, so this is really his second fight in 3 years, 2 years, excuse me, um, against a guy who's probably his worst opponent that he's fought so far in the UFC, in my opinion. I don't think Prachnio is very good. He's 4-6 in the UFC. He's now 37 years old. I'm not scared of him knocking out Jimmy Crute. He hasn't knocked anybody out. He has one knockout against Ike Villanueva, who finished his career 18-14 and was knocked out 8 times. Um, he's not very dangerous, and that tends to be Crute's kryptonite, is guys that hit hard. He doesn't really like to get hit. I think Crute's going to be able to take him down and submit him. I like Crute by submission at plus 165. Crute, his record of late isn't the prettiest at 0-3-2. But I do think this is a get right fight for him, and I feel very confident that he's going to beat Marcin Prachnio either by submission at plus 165, or I could see him just winning a decision if he's not able to submit Prachnio by taking him down and beating him up and getting submission attempts. Red Ray, how do you have it?
yeah, we're pretty aligned here. Prachnio's bad, 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 bad. Um, Last fight, he got arm triangled from the wrong side, which was wild. I was actually on Prachnio on that fight. I thought maybe he would be able to keep it standing and win the stand-ups against Bukauskas, and he actually did. He was definitely was the better striker, but Bukauskas, who's not known for grappling at all, was looking like a beeb out there. Especially by the third round, Prachnio was death cast from having to grapple whatsoever. So we've seen Crute now fight last fight against Bellato, who's, even though we know my feelings on Bellato, is far superior on the ground than Prachnio, and Crute was pretty dominant over him in the first round before Crute really probably adrenaline dropped in the second round, and after he 10-8'd Bellato, he knocked him down a couple of times, almost finished him on the ground, but he just went to a draw, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so that's, I mean, he can just do, if he does that the first round against Prachnio that he did against Bellato, Prachnio is going to he's going to get finished. You said decision. I think Crute finishes this however he wants. If he gets on top of Prachnio, he can win this by submission or knockout, I think, or ground and pound. So,
I did
and
say submission, but
yeah,
I
oh
think
yeah,
the second
yeah,
path
I
would
agree.
be decision. But
Okay, I don't even
um,
think decisions on the play. I think he can finish him, and then maybe if it goes a little bit later. I just think he could probably knock him out standing up, take him down, submit him, and ground and pound. I think he has so many options to finish him here. How quickly he got on Bellato's back last fight, or got him into a dominant position on the ground against Bellato. If he does, I mean, there's no reason he shouldn't do that to Prachnio in the first round.
If Jimmy Crute loses this fight, he should 100% retire. He half retired for a couple years and then he came back and had the draw against Bellato. If he cannot beat 37-year-old Marcin Prachnio, who's 4-6 in the UFC, who only beats guys like William Knight, he should just retire and move on
Mm.
respectfully. And I'll be cheering hard for him. Moving on up the card, we go to the welterweight division as we have Adam Fugitt against at plus 455 against Islam Dulatov at minus 625. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Uh, yeah, Dulatov's pretty impressive so far that we've seen. Um, Pretty high level guy. I mean, he has 6 wins by TKO, 5 wins by submission. All of them, I believe, are in the first round. Yeah. He has one. Well, that was a boxing fight, but yeah, he pretty much from the start of the fight to the finish, he's just going at 125%. We saw him on the Contender Series, won by elbow, 244 in the first round. Um, and he's beaten some pretty decent guys. One guy was 42-19. He guillotined him in 30 seconds. Another guy was 5-2. Arm triangled him in 48 seconds. So it's not like he's just getting beaten up cans on the regional scene. But I guess you just don't know. His big issue with him is you don't know what he's going to look like past the first round. He has the only time he ever got past the first round, he lost a decision. I think that was his first fight as the professional back in 2019. So haven't seen him past the first since that fight. Well, he does have one TKO in the second round in 2021. And then you got Fugitt on the other side. I don't know if he's not very good at anything. He's an okay at everything. I mean, he's not a big power puncher. He's not like a jiu-jitsu guy. He's just like an okay guy at everything. He has pretty good opponent. He's faced some pretty good opponents. I mean, his 2 losses in the UFC are to Mike Malott and Michael Morales. So 2 pretty decent guys in the division. Every time he's got to step down in competition, he has won. He beat Josh Quinlan his last fight out. Yusaki Kinoshita, he destroyed. He TKO'd him in the first round. But he's also training at my least favorite gym in Fight Ready. So I assume that he's going to come out with possibly one of the worst game plans of all time, if I know how they do anything over there. So I'm going to take Dulatov. I'm just going to assume that sparked or Dulatov sparked some in the first round, like Malott and Morales did. They both got him finishes over him. So I could see TKO or submission here, but I'll go Dulatov in the first or second round.
Yeah, I am also going to go with Dulatov by knockout at minus 185. Really, first round knockout. I'm not sure what that number is, but I think it's exciting for the UFC that they have a German prospect. We've never really seen anyone from Germany with a lot of hype behind them, and at least in a while, no one's really coming to mind. I laughed when you said Fuget's not really good at anything because I kind of agreed. Like when I think of Fuget, I don't really think of him being elite anywhere. I think he's just pretty solid everywhere. What I will say is that Dulatov looked like he was getting exhausted in his Dana White Contender Series fight. It only lasted 2 minutes and 44 seconds, but as it was going on, he was starting to look tired. Fugitt is a true veteran. He's been to decision many times. He's not going to death gas like I fear Dulatov could. If Fugitt survives the first round, I think there's an opportunity to live bet him. I think he has a path to win by decision if Dulatov does get exhausted and just completely slows down. Um, so for the same kind of a very similar breakdown to the Spann fight, if Dulatov does not knock him out in the first round, I think this fight becomes much closer than minus 625 on the Dulatov side. But for the sake of giving a prediction, I am going to predict Dulatov by first round knockout. Moving up the card, we go to the middleweight division as we have Red Ray, help me out here. Atab Gautier,
I think it's a Tiba Gutierrez.
Atiba Gautier at minus 550 with a comeback on Robert Valentin at plus 410. Another similar fight here as we have Mini Ngannou. We were on him last time, and I believe our very first card that we gave out picks for, it might have been the second card. We were on Gautier by knockout, and he got that done for us against Jose Medina. Valentine, we just saw get taken down at will by Torres Finney, Ray's favorite fighter. Um, Valentine, not a great striker, more of a submission guy. Think he's going to have an opportunity the longer this fight goes. I think Gautier is such a physical specimen that Valentine's not going to be able to take him down in the first round. I think really Gautier is going to try to knock his lights out in the first round, which ultimately I do think is going to happen. But again, if this fight gets out of the first round, then Valentine certainly has a much better chance than plus 410. I like Gautier by first round knockout at plus 140. But I think there's opportunity for Valentine to win by submission at plus 1200 or a decision also at plus 1200 if he does get out of the first round and can get the takedowns in rounds 2 and 3 and control him, either find a submission or out grapple him and beat him up on the feet. I'm sorry, on the ground. I think he could win by decision. But ultimately, I like Gautier by first round knockout at plus 140. Red Ray, how do you have it?
We're pretty aligned. I'm not. I can't take credit for being on Gutierrez. Last time I was, I think I was on Jose Medina against him. So,
Ah,
sorry, I don't want to take false credit here. Um, but so if I was on Jose Medina, I have to by default be on Robert Valentine here. But it's just mainly because I saw what happened when Gutierrez got taken down by the guy in the Contender Series. I think his name is Nato. He looked absolutely lost. Had no idea what he was doing. Looked like he was if like Nato had any kind of like jiu-jitsu at all, he would have probably been able to submit him immediately. Valentine does have good jiu-jitsu. We saw it against Loader in the Ultimate Fighter finale. He was able there. He was winning the grappling exchange in the first round before he finally got tired. Had him Loader in a couple of deep submissions that he almost finished. He had a he had an armbar submission on the Ultimate Fighter. He has 6 wins by submission in his career, so his jiu-jitsu is good. You said he's not a great striker. He's not technically a great striker. He is, I would say, dangerous though on his feet. He does throw a lot of dangerous type strikes, but I wouldn't say like he's some kind of technical wizard. We know Goudier just hits like a truck, though. I'm worried that if Valentine tries to stand with him for a while, that he's just going to get knocked out. I don't know if Valentine has the takedowns to get Goudier down. Um, so that's really my main holdback on just going all in on Valentine here. If I knew that Valentine had some kind of double leg that he would just could bum rush in there, I think his best chance is probably to just maybe get in close on Goudier and just maybe like jump on his back or something like that. Get into some kind of weird scramble but standing up. And I'm sure Goudier has no idea how to handle any of that. I can't imagine in less than a year that he has improved significantly on the ground. So plus we don't know what his gas tank looked like. He looked like he was slowing down against NATO in the second round. So I think he could easily gas in the later rounds. Valentine doesn't have the greatest gas tank in the world, but it's definitely better than um, Goudier's. So I'm going to take Valentine here, long shot. Maybe he gets a submission late in the fight, but I think he could get it any round. To be honest, I don't think he needs Goudier to gas to get the submission. He just has to get Goudier to the ground. So um, I'm just hoping that he can survive on the feet and get this fight to the ground and get a submission.
I went back to the history books and see that we did give out a half unit on Gautier. I think that you agreed that first round knockout was very
It was
live
probably, yeah.
and the
Okay,
longer
that's
it
fair.
went. So we had a half unit, which
Okay,
we did cash. We had a great night that card. But
okay.
focusing on UFC 318, we're going to move on up back to the welterweight division as we have Francisco Prado at minus 150 with the comeback on Nikolay
Ni-
Veretennikov. Red Ray, how do you
Nicola,
have it?
Nikola Veretennikov, I think is
That's
his
what I
real name.
said.
Okay. Um, this is probably outside of the main event, it might be my toughest fight to break down on the card. Neither of these guys are overly impressive. I thought Prado was. He looked like he was an up and comer at when he first came out. I mean, he lost to Jamie Malarkey, which I don't love, but he took that on short notice. Then he was able to finish Ottman and Zaitar pretty easily. Then I was pretty high on him against Zellhuber, and he actually hurt Zellhuber in the first round, but then kind of just got pieced up for the second and third round, but still showed a lot of heart, and I like that. But then he moved up to 170, and he's a small guy, like we said earlier about who did I say? Oh, Bruno Ferreira about how small he is. He's 5'10 at 185. Prado's 5'10 at 170, but I don't even know if Prado's 5'10. He might be even smaller than that, but he should be a 155er. He said he was cutting too much weight. Doesn't make any sense. He's not big at all. We saw that in his last fight against Matthews. Matthews, who's obviously on fire right now, but um, Matthews was much bigger than he was, and he pretty much just got pieced up for those 3 rounds. I wasn't like if you look at the stats, it wasn't that dominant, but it was a pretty easy 3 rounds to 0 there for Matthews. Um, on the Veretenikov's side, first fight against Danny Barlow. Well, he's 0-3 in the UFC. He had a Dana White Contender Series fight in 2021, lost to Michael Morales, but that was 3-4 years ago. Um, Lost to Danny Barlow in his fight back. Pretty back and forth fight. It really wasn't that bad. It was a stand up battle. I wouldn't say battle. It was pretty much just like back and forth tit
If I
tatting
remember
for 3 rounds.
correctly, I think Barlow broke his hand or his arm in that
Yeah, I think you're
fight.
right.
But
You are correct. Um, but either way, it wasn't like he didn't get blown out in that fight. And then fought Austin Vanderford last fight and absolutely just got ragdolled for 2 rounds. Then decided to throw an absolute hissy fit after the fight and try to smack Vanderford in the face for I don't know dominating him for 2 rounds or I don't know not letting him up. I'm not really sure what he was upset about, but so this guy's a clown. But I'm gonna have to go Prado here just based on the fact that if we're on a stand up fight, um, I think Veretennikov has like no like in the Barlow fight, it looks like he's just kind of in cruise control at all times. I mean, he landed 50 significant strikes in 3 rounds over that. So I mean that's less than 15 a round. I just think Prado, while he's much going to be the smaller guy here, he still does hit hard, and I just think he's going to be pushing forward the whole time. He is at American Top Team. This is his second fight at American Top Team, so maybe he's going to look a little bit better than last time. So I'm just going to off him. I don't think either of them are going to get a finish. If I was going to lean one guy to get a finish, it would be Prado. I don't think, but Prado's chin. I mean, it looks like he's got a Drew Dober type chin. I don't think that thing's going to get knocked out anytime soon. So, um, but I think Prado just wins a decision here, basically just out volume and Veretennikov for 3 rounds.
agree with everything you said. I don't say I hate this fight. I hate it because I don't feel confident either way. I am going to go with Prado though because he is the younger guy, and I have not been impressed with Nikolai at all. We saw him get absolutely dominated last fight. I know we were on the Vanderford side in that fight. Prado has fought a couple of pretty high level guys. I mean, Zellhuber probably a top 20 welterweight. Matthews probably a top 25 welterweight. Um, I don't want to say this is like a massive step down for him because I wouldn't say it's like a massive step down. I mean, you should be getting a step down in competition when you've lost two in a row. And he is only 23 years old. I agree he should be fighting at lightweight, but it's only going to get harder the older he gets, even though he's only 23. So maybe he just wants to really commit to being a true welterweight. Um, and Vernikov is 35 years old. And he did have a competitive fight against Barlow, but I think that was only because Barlow was fighting with one arm. And then we saw him get dominated by Vanderford. So I'm going to go with the guy who hasn't been manhandled. He has lost a couple of 30-27s, but they were to very respectable competition. I am leaning Prado by decision at plus 175. Let's move up the card to the middleweight division as we have, in my opinion, the second best fight on the card, the fight that I have the second most interest in on the card, but it's the number 7 fight on the card, and it's not even the main event of the prelims. With that being said, we have Marvin Vettori at plus 175 with the comeback on Brendan Allen at minus 210. Starting on the Vettori side here, pretty easy to break this guy down. He is very one-dimensional. He only boxes. He has pretty good takedown defense. He is very, very durable. Doesn't have a lot of knockout power. You'd think he would because he's built like a tank, but he only has two KO wins in 19 of his wins. Has not knocked anybody out in the UFC. It's a pretty straightforward path for Vettori. He's going to try to outpoint you on the feet and win a decision. Brendan Allen, on the other hand, has much more ways to win. He is a good striker. He can use all of the weapons on the feet. He's a very slick submission guy. He's also fighting at home. He is a Louisiana guy, so he's going to have the home field advantage in that respect. I've been hearing Vettori has a lot going on in his personal life. I heard he lost a loved one. Um, he's had a lot of injuries. He looked like he was still a little bit injured against Delice. Um, but ultimately, I think Allen's going to be the better round winner. I think he could get Vettori down. Vettori has had pretty good takedown defense, but we have seen him get taken down and controlled at times. And if someone's going to be able to do it, I think it's a guy like Brendan Allen. This is actually a rematch when you think about it, because we saw them fight in the casino within the past 18 months, and Brendan Allen easily won that fight. So I'm not sure what would change in the rematch, but I like Brendan Allen by decision just because of the durability of Vettori, and that is plus 100. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Yeah, we're pretty agreed here. I'm just not sure how Vettori wins the fight, to be honest. Usually, Allen, his real weakness is his fight IQ. He's really good, I think, as a striker and as a grappler, but sometimes, like in the Hernandez fight, he'll grapple against a guy that he should be striking against. And then in other fights, he's striking against guys he should be grappling against. In this fight, I don't really see where he is worse than Vettori. So he could strike if he wants. He's going to be the better striker. Uh, he could grapple if he wants. He's going to be the better grappler. Um, Vettori doesn't have power on the feet, and he's not going to be able to hurt Allen. He's not. I mean, he's okay. His volume's okay, except it didn't look great against. Last fight he just lost a striking match to Roman Dolidze for 5 rounds. So Roman Dolidze, one of the probably worst strikers in the division, and he arguably lost 2 fights to Dolidze um, by in just striking affairs. So I thought Dolidze won, or I thought Dolidze won the first fight, and then he lost to Dolidze more convincingly the last time. So he should be on a 4-fight losing streak here. Allen, while he has lost 2 in a row, he did have that win against Chris Curtis, which I thought Curtis did win by decision, but it was very, very close. And the Imavov fight, Imavov is much more high level than Vettori in most areas, and he easily won the first round. Seemed like he kind of gassed after that, and then we already know what Hernandez is. He's a maniac. So I know most people don't think Allen can get Vettori down, but most people didn't think Allen could get Chris Curtis down. Chris Curtis, I think, had the highest takedown defense and percentage in the division until he fought Allen, and Allen got him down like 7 or 8 times. So I don't see why Allen can't get Vettori down. His takedowns are actually really good. So yeah, the position of this card is pretty, or the position of the card on the fight card is pretty interesting. But yeah, I think Allen. I'm probably. I don't think he's going to win, and I don't think he's going to knock him out. He may get a submission. I think that's his best chance, but even there, I don't think so. I think it's probably going to be a decision, but I think it's a pretty one-sided decision. I just don't see where Vettori gets moments or anything like that in the fight. So
Okay, let's move up the card. Men's bantamweight division. This is another good, exciting fight that should probably be on the main card, but it's not. And we have Kyler Phillips at plus 124 with the comeback on Vinicius Oliveira at minus 148. Red Ray, how do you have it?
I'll just call him Vinny. I've actually been a Vinny hater in the past. I think I bet against him, bet or picked against him in all of his fights so far, and has been 0-3. So um, I think the Sapaj fight really turned me off. I thought he lost pretty dominantly the first 2 rounds, and then Sapaj obviously death gassed, um, and he was able to turn on a third round. But he's looked pretty dominant in his last 2 fights against Ricky Simon and Nurmagomedov in his last one.
Saeed.
Saeed, yeah. Saeed also has a gas tank issue similar to Kyler Phillips, so I think that was a good warm up for this fight. Kyler Phillips is pretty. He's got some pretty good wins on his record. Just it's always had one issue, and that's been his gas tank. And I thought he had fixed it against Pedro Munoz. Didn't have any issues. He was able to go all 3 rounds, look good, didn't slow down. Um, and then so that's why he was the big favorite against Rob Font last time, and looked like his gas tank was worse than ever. He only had 1 round of gas tank. He usually has 2. So no idea what to expect out of him here. I think if I knew that Kyler Phillips had 3 rounds of gas, then he probably gets the win here. He's going to be the he has great footwork. He usually is pretty defensively sound. He's got a pretty good variety of strikes on the feet. Not overly powerful, but he could finish guy. He has a lot of can get head kicks and whatnot. So he's got a lot of dangerous strikes that he can throw. He's also a good wrestler, but he usually after the first round is just second round. He's pretty a little bit lower, but he's usually still okay in the second round and wins the second round. Third round, he usually just absolutely does, and he's just surviving in the third round. Um, I don't think that's a guy you can't bet on right now until he shows you otherwise. So Vinny hasn't had that issue at all. His gas tank is pretty strong. His 3 losses in his career are all by finish, so that's kind of worrisome. Uh, he's been knocked out in the first, second, and third round of fights, so it doesn't matter what round it is. He couldn't get knocked out in any of them. But I think that's mostly because he comes through. He has low hands, so he can get hit with like a head kick or whatnot. But I really think Kyler Phillips, unless he has a drastic cardio change, his one path to victory is a first round finish here. And then after that, I think Oliveira just takes over. I think he's going to be the pressure fighter. He's going to land the bigger shots after that. And I don't see Kyler getting a wrestling game plan off. Saeed is also a high level wrestler. He wasn't able to do that against Oliveira. Either was Ricky Simon. Probably both those guys are just as good or better wrestlers than Phillips. So I'll take Oliveira here, either third round finish or decision. I'm going to lean towards decision though.
I'm on the same side here. I don't think I'm as confident you are as Oliveira. He has looked very good. He's looked like he's improved every single fight so far in the UFC. He is in his fighting prime. Very, very, very dangerous guy on the feet. Has shown really good takedown defense. I also think Kyler Phillips is very good. I almost want to say I think he's a little underrated. I think, yeah, I mean the cardio is a bit of an issue. He is 7-2 in the UFC. Um, and the guys he's lost to, Rob Font, obviously very well respected. I think the Pavia loss hasn't aged very well. But he's also right in his prime. He does train at MMA Lab. We know how good that team is, especially in that weight class. Um, I think this is a very close fight. Very close fight. I think it's deserving of the prelim main event. I think it should be on the main card opener. Um, it should be a very close competitive fight. It should be exciting. I think these two match up very well. I am leaning on the Oliveira side just because we've seen him always find a way to win Even when he's been put in difficult situations, he can always come back and find a way to win. I do think the cardio advantage it could be a big factor as well, as you pointed out. So I'm going to lean Oliveira by decision at plus 150, but not as confident as you are. All right, we do get to the main card now, and we open up in the lightweight division as we have Michael Johnson at plus 425 at the comeback on Daniel Zellhuber at minus 575. And Red Ray, we're going to open up with some trivia for you. I wanted to ask you, do you think Michael Johnson has a positive or a negative win rate in the UFC?
I
He has
actually know
30
I know
fights.
I know the answer to this, so I'm gonna
Damn it. It was a
ruin your
trick
trivia.
question.
It
It
is a
was a
trick
trick
question.
question. He is 15 and 15. Daniel Zellhuber 4 and 2. Big difference here in this fight is Michael Johnson is 39 years old. He is 5'10". Daniel Zellhuber is 26 and he is 6'1". Zellhuber coming off a Fight of the Year candidate last year against Esteban Ribovics. I think Esteban Ribovics is at this point in his career, a much better, more dangerous striker than Michael Johnson is. Before that, he was on a three-fight win streak against lower level guys. That was his first true test so far in the UFC. He did have a decision loss to Trey Ogden. Um, but in that fight, that was a case of a guy who is trying to take you down, even though that isn't really even how he won the fight. But the threat was always there. The attempts were there. Don't see Michael Johnson trying to take him down. He's going to try to knock him out. Um, I think Zellhuber is going to be a little too big, a little too long, and outpoint him on the feet. I could see Zellhuber knocking out Johnson, but Johnson actually has a pretty good chin historically, has only been TKO'd 3 times in his very, very long career. Um, so I'm going to lean Zellhuber by decision at plus 150. But overall, I'm pretty confident in his money line. I just don't really see how he loses. I don't see Michael Johnson knocking him out. I think that would be have to be his only path. We've never seen Zellhuber get knocked out. Obviously, was in danger a couple times in that Ribovics fight, um, but I don't think Johnson has that kind of pressure and volume and technical ability that Ribovics did. Ribovics also can throw a lot more kicks than Michael Johnson can. I mean, Michael Johnson's just so one-dimensional at this point. He's just a boxer who's going to try to knock you out, but he is aging. He's a smaller guy. There's going to be a little bit of significant reach advantage. I like Zellhuber by decision at plus 150. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Mostly aligned here. Yeah, Zellhuber last fight was pretty interesting because he usually doesn't get into those type of wars like he did against Ribovics. I don't know, might have been because it was the Noche card and he was trying to put on a show. Usually he's pretty measured in how he fights, so I'll see. Interesting to see how he goes back if he gets it back. If he tries to get into a war with Michael Johnson, Michael Johnson might be the bigger hitter here, um, but obviously. He's also probably got the worst chin of the two. So it's going to be interesting to see how he attacks the fight. But if he fights pretty much how he fought against anybody else, he does get hit randomly. Um, like we've seen, he had Prado landed 90 strikes against him over 3 rounds. Lucas Almeida landed 96 against him in the Contender Series. So he can definitely get hit. But most of those guys are younger guys that are much faster. Johnson's just not very fast anymore. I just think that Zellhuber is going to probably just piece him up from range. I could see even a club and sub here. Um, that's what Zellhuber did to Giagos in the second round there. That's his only UFC finish. He has no knockdowns, but he does have no knockouts, 2 knockdowns though. So um, I could see him winning literally by any way. So it's hard for me to pick away here. But yeah, I'm on Zellhuber. I just think he is going to be faster, the better striker, better cleaner striker here, and just obviously the far younger guy.
Okay, let's move up to the men's featherweight division as we have Dan 50K Ige at minus 218 with the comeback on Patricio Pitbull at plus 180. Red Ray, how do you have it?
You guys coming off that nice win over Sean Woodson, probably a little bit of an early stoppage, but nonetheless, he was the one who put the ref in the position to stop the fight. So that's all you can really do at that point. He was down, probably arguably down 2 rounds to nothing there. So big W coming back there. Um, Pitbull, we saw him in his only fight so far. He fought Yair Rodriguez, got pretty much manhandled for 3 rounds. Not manhandled, but just outclassed on the feet. I think this should be I think it's going to be closer in the line. Ige is not much of a. He doesn't really pull away. I don't think in fights a lot of times. I mean, besides knocking people out, it's not like he. You never really see him usually outclass guys for 3 rounds, especially on the feet. I think he's a pretty average striker. I think he's just has really good power for the division. Uh, he's not a very good wrestler. His takedown accuracy is 25%. His defense is 58%. He can be taken down. I think his jiu-jitsu is pretty good. He was able to stay safe against Lopez on the ground there. So I think he's a high level jiu-jitsu guy. Not high level, but like good enough where I don't think Pitbull is going to have any advantage if he tries to take him down there. So I think this is going to be pretty close. I think it's just going to be two guys going back and forth. Both of them pretty much only box. So we'll see. I think the matchup against Yair Rodriguez was just a terrible matchup for Pitbull. He's only a boxer. Yair moves a lot. He throws kicks a lot, and most of his kicks. I mean, he's very long. It's just a terrible matchup for him. Um, this is more the kind of guys that he's going to have success against at this point in his career. I just think that I don't know if I love Ige with that number at minus 220. I think he wins, but I just think it's going to be close. So I just think if the only one of the guys has finishing power here, and it's going to be Ige. I don't think Pitbull is going to knock out Ige. So that's going to give me the edge there. That as long as Ige can stay up with the volume, which he should, I think he's at some point is going to hurt Pitbull, and that should sway the round in his whatever his path.
Yeah, pretty much agree with everything he said. Haven't seen a lot of Pitbull's fights. Never watched Bellator, but I watched his last fight and I was not very impressed. Ige, I think, continues to show he is a legitimate contender in the featherweight division. Had a really tough matchup in his last fight against Sean Winston, fighting a guy who was 6'2". Now you're fighting a guy who's 5'6". I do know that Pitbull was saying that he didn't fight the kind of fight he wanted to after he lost to Rodriguez. He was saying he was too passive and wasn't aggressive enough, and until that third round when he had a little bit of success. I think if he's trying to bulldoze Dan Ige, that's going to be an issue. I think Ige could take his lights out. And that's what I think is actually going to happen. I think that uh, Pitbull if he tries to take him down, I think Ige is going to be able to stuff the takedowns. Is a good defensive wrestler. Ige has true power in his hands. We've seen him get those highlight knockouts so many times. His last two wins are by TKO. I do think he's going to put his lights out, and that's going to be my prediction at plus 330 Dan Ige by knockout. Let's move up to the welterweight division as we have Kevin Holland at minus 575 with the comeback on Daniel Rodriguez, D-Rod, plus 425. This is a very one-sided fight, in my opinion. I think Kevin Holland matches up very well against D-Rod in this fight. I think this is terrible matchmaking. I don't really understand it. I know Holland wants to stay active. This is hands down a big step down in competition for Holland. He's on a two-fight win streak. Only struggled against DeRitter, who took him down and submitted him. We know D-Rod's not going to do that. Holland historically is a great striker, has never been knocked out, can submit guys, but it's usually when they're trying to offensively grapple him is when he gets the submissions. Don't think D-Rod is obviously going to be trying to do that. We saw D-Rod nearly get beat by Ponzinibbio in his last fight, nearly lost to Moreno. He won that by split decision. Um, Was on a 3-fight losing streak before that. He's 38 years old. Um, he doesn't have a path, in my opinion, to win this fight. If it stays striking, I think Holland's going to piece him up. We've seen Holland be very competitive against elite strikers. The JDM fight stands out. Lost that fight by split decision, and now JDM is obviously the champion. Um, this line has ballooned to what it is now at minus 575. It opened at like I want to say it opened at like minus 275 or minus 300, something like that. Um, and so we're a little late on it at this point, but it's a pretty clear win for Kevin Holland, in my opinion. Haven't seen him knock anyone out cold in a while. D-Rod has only been KO'd once by that head kick from Ian Gary, so I do think he is going to be tough enough to survive. I like Kevin Holland by decision at plus 240. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Yeah, we're pretty much on the same thing here. Uh, Holland, or I was on D-Rod against Ponzinibbio. I just thought he was going to have higher volume there, which he did, but not as much as I thought. I only landed 66 strikes. I know he got the KO, but 66 strikes over 2 rounds, not very high for a guy who usually can land over 100. He looked very slow. I just think he's getting up there in age now. He's almost 39. Um, like you said, Kevin Holland just coming off the win against Luque. I know I said against Luque that didn't understand how you could bet Kevin Holland at minus 200. This line, I don't understand at all. We've been seeing guys minus 1,000 the last couple of weeks. Holland should be a minus 1,000 here. I don't understand like you said, I don't understand the path for Rodriguez. He's not the better striker. He's gonna lose on volume. He loses on power, loses on speed. He's not the better grappler, so I don't really know his path. How people think he's going to win the fight. So I, unlike you, think he's going to get a finish. Both of the guys that are most recent fights that Rodriguez has fought against guys that are long, like Holland. One was Machado. He got TKO'd, and then the other one was Neil Magny. He got Darst in the third round. So I think a club and sub here I think Holland can hurt him standing. Rodriguez might go in for a submit or going for a takedown of some sort. Even like we saw Holland get the choke on Luque. Wasn't even a takedown. He just Luque slipped and he got the takedown. So or I got the submission. So it doesn't even need to be a takedown or anything like that. Holland will just jump on it. So yeah, I think Holland wins this thing in the first or second round. I don't think it's going to be too easy. The minus 3.5, minus 5.5, whatever you want to play here, I think are both all live. So this should be a pretty easy win for Kevin Holland.
Let's move on to the co-main event of the night as we head back to the middleweight division as we have Paulo Costa at plus 185 with the comeback on Roman Kopylov at minus 225. Red Ray, how do you have it?
It's hard for me to know what's going to happen here. You don't know what you're going to get out of Paulo anytime he fights. It seems like since the Rockhold fight, he doesn't really want to get into any kind of wars. He's trying to fight pretty and basically has been very low volume. I don't know if he's worried about his gas tank or what the issue is there. He death gassed against Rockhold, so maybe he's just not training as hard or what's going on. But last two fights we saw him, he won the first round against Whitaker and then basically just went on cruise control and lost the last 2 rounds. Against Strickland, he had no point, was really even competitive. He was just in cruise control for 5 rounds against that fight. So you got Kopylov over here. He's going to be the much better striker. My issue with Kopylov is he slows down late in the fight, but I did like against the Chris Curtis fight his last time out. He definitely slowed down in the second round. Chris Curtis started taking over in that fight, and it wasn't like Chris Curtis slowed down in the third round. Kopylov just got a second wind and was able to take over in the third round and was going to probably win the decision, but he ended up getting the finish with, I think, 1 second left in the fight. I just think that he has the better path here. Even if Costa's at 100%, I don't know what would his game plan be to finish. I guess just pressure and hope that Kopylov slows down and he takes over that way. That's my But I mean, how do you know that's gonna? You don't know if he's gonna fight like that. He hasn't fought like that in forever. So he's lost 4 or 5, and that one win was against Luke Rockhold, who had 3 minutes of gas, and he couldn't finish him. It went all 3 rounds, and arguably almost lost the fight on that one. So I just think Kopylov is going to piece him up for the first 2 rounds. Third round might be sketchy um, if Costa can hold if he can keep his gas tank for that long, and maybe he pressures a little bit in the third round, makes it look good, gets a 29-28 out of it. But I just think Kopilov's the guy with the momentum right now and the better fighter.
Yeah, this one is tough. I'm a huge fan of Paulo Costa. I think he's very funny. I always respect a great physique. Um, I like the way he fights. Um, Kopylov is very good though. I think it's going to be a very close fight. I know pretty much everyone is on the Kopylov fight. This is kind of a silly reason to like someone to win, but Costa really needs this win. He's 1-5 over his last, 1-4 over his last five. Um, Pretty competitive in 3 out of those four. I don't want to say this is a step down, but I mean, going from Sean Strickland and Robert Whitaker to Kopylov is obviously like a little bit of a step down. Um, Kopylov is kind of secretly 34 years old. I feel like in my head, I think he's much younger than that. But it's not like he's some spring chicken. But we have seen Costa slow down the longer the fight goes. So I do think the longer it goes, the more it is going to favor Kopylov. Just out of respect and love and admiration for Paulo Costa, I am going to pick him by decision at plus 400, only because we've never seen Kopylov get knocked out. His 2 of his 3 losses are by submission. I'd be absolutely stunned if Paulo Costa was shooting takedowns trying to submit him. Um, I'm hoping we see the old Paulo. I mean, he's said it many times. He's going to bring back the old Paulo Costa, the killer. Um, Not trying to fight passive and save his cardio. He's going to go for broke and try to knock you out. And I want to be able to cheer for Costa, so I'm going to pick him. I mean, it's not saying I'm putting a bet on him, but I'm going to pick him by decision at plus 400. We move to the main event of the night. Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway 3. Max Holloway is minus 135 currently. Dustin Poirier plus 114. Poirier is 2-0 so far in this trilogy. But the first fight was Holloway's debut in the UFC a very long time ago. We saw these guys in a competitive championship fight for the vacant title. Um, and Poirier edged him out 49-46. Was shooting some takedowns in the fight. We know they're both very good strikers. Holloway, obviously, an outstanding striker, has the most strikes landed in the UFC by over 1,000 from the guy who's next. Um, Obviously, we know this is Poirier's retirement fight. He is 36 years old. Max Holloway, 33 years old, coming off the knockout loss to Ilia Topuria, in which he was very competitive in that fight until he got knocked out. Prior to that, had the knockout of the year over Justin Gaethje with 1 second left. Knocked out the Korean Zombie in a fight that Korean Zombie decided he wanted the fight to be over and wanted to get knocked out. Um, this one is very close for a reason. But to me, I think Poirier has more ways to win. I think he is more likely to knock out or submit Max Holloway than Max Holloway is to him. There's zero chance Holloway submits Poirier, and there is a very unlikeliness that he knocks out Poirier. We did see Poirier get knocked out by that head kick from Justin Gaethje. Didn't really go out cold, so we haven't seen Poirier go out cold since 2016 when Michael Johnson caught him. Um, I just think Poirier has more ways to win. He's going to be fighting at home, um, and that's ultimately what it comes down to me. I'm also a little bit worried about Holloway's getting knocked out for the first time. I mean, it was at featherweight, so we don't know how much the weight cut plays a factor in that, but enough time has gone by that it shouldn't be too big of a factor, but um, it's just another reason why I like Poirier a little bit more over Holloway. I was looking; these guys are both 22-8 overall in the UFC, which I think is pretty cool. Um, Historically, Holloway though obviously very durable, and I don't think that Poirier is going to be chasing a submission. I don't think he's going to be chasing takedowns. I think he's going to want to try to brawl and um, potentially go out on his shield. So with that being said, I like Poirier by decision at plus 350, but this should be a very close fight. Red Ray, how do you have it?
Yeah, mostly aligned here. I don't think much has changed from the last fight. I know it's been 6 years, but I know and a lot of people are acting like Max has made most of the changes or most of the improvements since. I think he's still kind of the same fighter. I think he looked a lot better against Gaethje, but Gaethje, I think you can look good against him depending on how you fight style wise. I don't know if Max is really. I mean, we just saw him at 145, so people are acting like he's built into this physique. He literally just fought at 145 not too long ago, so um, he still was able to get to 145. It wasn't like he had got so big that he wasn't able to get to 145 anymore. So um, he's still going to probably be thickness wise the smaller guy here. Poirier has always been just a thick 155er. I know I don't think Dustin looked very quick last fight, but I think that had a lot to do with just the style of fight. Islam is um, he was just worried about the takedowns, and that was pretty much his whole training camp. So now he knows that's not going to be a worry here. He doesn't have to worry about that. He'll go back to just striking. And like you said, he did get knocked out against Gaethje, but he was winning the fight before that, and the kick that knocked him out, he saw it coming. It wasn't like he just didn't see it. It just happened that Gaethje's foot wrapped around to the back of his head, but he blocked it like he's supposed to block it. It's just kind of an unlucky hit for him. So the first fight was pretty back and forth, but like in the first fight, I mean, that was 6 years ago. That was the first time we ever saw Holloway get hurt by anybody. So I don't think I think Poirier can do it now, especially Max has been dropped twice or dropped in each of his last two fights, knocked out his last time. Don't think the chin's any better than it was 6 years ago. I could see a Poirier knockout here. I think the first round is definitely going to be um, his most impressive round. I think if he lands on Holloway early in the first round, he might finish him early. If it goes on the fight, I think it could just be a war like the last fight there was. So, like you said, I don't really see Holloway knocking him out. Um, Obviously, he knocked out Gaethje. Anything's possible, but I think it's either going to be a war for 5 rounds, or I think Dustin finishes it early. But I'm on the Poirier side here.
Yeah, and let's not forget he only knocked out Gaethje because they decided to stand in the middle of the cage
Right.
and try to knock each other out in the last 10 seconds of the fight. And let's not forget that Chan Sung Jung decided he wanted to be knocked out and didn't want to fight anymore. Had he
Mm,
chose to fight a little bit smarter and not reckless, then he may not have knocked him out either.
right.
Um, so anyway, we're aligned on the Poirier side. So let's jump right into the picks. Let's start with the 1 unit play, and it is Dustin Poirier. We don't need to spend too much time on this because we just talked about it, but we like Poirier money line at plus 114. The 2 unit play is going to be Carly Judice in the first fight of the night, money line with Daniel Zellhuber money line. That comes to minus 196. So we're laying a little bit of juice, but we're going to put down 2 units to win 1 unit. A little bit of a bankroll builder in that fight. But again, Judice is the younger, longer, bigger, more athletic striker. I think she's going to piece her up on the feet, if not knock her out. I think she'll be able to avoid the takedowns from Caliari, and I think that's going to be a very dominant performance for Judice. And then we just talked about the Zellhuber fight not too long ago, fighting a 39-year-old Michael Johnson. If Zellhuber doesn't get into a brawl, I think he technically wins this fight pretty easily. I think he outpoints him. Probably 30-27s him would be my guess. So as long as he doesn't fight reckless, we're very confident that he gets that one done. So again, that is the 2 unit play. And the 3 unit play, we're on Brendan Allen money line alongside Kevin Holland. I mean, we are very, very high on Kevin Holland. again, we don't see any sort of path for D-Rod. I think Holland wins everywhere this fight goes. Redray thinks he's going to knock him out or submit him. I think Holland's going to win by decision. Either way, we think Holland is going to win this fight any way he can or wants to. And then on the Brendan Allen side, he is just has way more tools, has way more ways to win the fight. He is fighting in his backyard. Vettori's got a lot going on in his personal life. He's had a lot of injuries. He's just very one-dimensional. And as we know, Brendan Allen did win the first fight in the casino. Let's move on to our own picks. Red Ray, why don't you go ahead and give us your picks with your 3 units?
I got three bets tonight. I'm going to put 1.6 units on the Jimmy Crute fight against Prachnio, under 2.5. It's minus 160. Like I said, I think Crute finishes that one 9 times out of 10 very early on in this fight. I'm just going to go the under 2.5 just because on the odds that maybe Prachnio hits him with a head kick or something like he did against Bukakis where he rocks him, then at least we're covered on both sides. But I think most of the finish equity is on Crute's side, and I just think under 2.5 at minus 160 seems like a wild number to me. I'm going to go 1 unit on Oliveira, Vinny Oliveira, his money line, minus 148. I just think that's a good line for him against a guy who easily is going to, or that could easily gas and he could take over. And even when they're both at full strength as far as stamina wise, I think Oliveira still could be the better fighter there and just a higher pressured fighter. So, and then finally, I'm going to throw my last 0.4 units on the Jackson McVey money line. I believe it's plus 410 right now. I just think it's a crazy line. It's mostly a value shot here. I just don't think Bruno Ferreira is good enough to be a minus 550 against pretty much anybody, especially against a guy that's 6-0, then that's 6 inches taller. If he gets starts in the first round, then he gets starts in the first round. But I just think he's going to be the better odds than plus 410.
My pick is a 1 pick. It is a 3-unit play. It is Jimmy Crute money line. I am very, very high on Jimmy Crute. Red Ray was just, even though you just heard him talking him up for whatever reason, he was just a little hesitant to do that in a team bet. I said that was fine. I'll take Jimmy Crute money line. I think he's better everywhere. I think he's going to take him down and submit him or beat him up. Could grind out a decision. I just think Prachnio is really, really bad. And again, if Jimmy Crute loses this fight, he does need to officially retire. But good news is he won't lose this fight. We're going to do his money line alongside Kevin Holland money line, which is a part of our own 3-unit play. I'm just so high on Kevin Holland in this fight that I am willing to risk all 6 of our units for him to come through on this. And my last piece of this parlay is going to be Dustin Poirier plus 13.5 points. I think this fight is going to be very, very close. I think that Poirier is the only one that could get a finish. And I'm just buying these points just to play it safe. We picked him to win the fight outright, but I'm going to buy these points at 13.5. We would need him to win only 1 round. If he loses 49-46, he would lose by 9 points. You add the 13.5 points, and he wins that. He could even only win 1 round on 1 scorecard, and he would still cover this. That would be 49-46. 50-45 and 50-45. So he would need to win 2 rounds, two scorecards, 1 round to cover this. Either way, he needs to win 1 round. I'm very confident he can win at least 1 round in this fight. We think he's going to win the whole fight. So that is my 3-unit play, and that is plus 101, which I think is a very nice number. So that is it. Those are the picks. 12 units as always. The 3-unit, the 2-unit, the 1-unit red and blue pick. I have a 3-unit blue Bart pick, and Red Ray's got his 3 picks. Should be a great card, 14 fights. Really looking forward to it. And we will be back next week to talk about UFC Fight Night, Whitaker versus De Ridder in Abu Dhabi. Until then, please follow us on x.com/RNB Fight Picks, where we are always recapping and giving out the picks live. Really looking forward to this card, and stay tuned till next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.